All right, it gives me great privilege and honor to bring our next speaker. And he's going to speak on the historical struggle among the founders that brought forth the Bill of Rights. And that's none other than Derek Howe!
Well, good morning, Patriots.
Hey!
Joel, that was incredible. All right, the short guy here has to adjust the mic. All right, I'm also going to be constrained, because those of you who heard me speak before, I like to move around, so I can't do that. So I feel like I'm restrained here, so I'm going to do my best to stay stationary. Well, good morning. I'm here to talk about the struggle with our Bill of Rights. And obviously, we're celebrating the Declaration of Independence this weekend, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the Bill of Rights and the struggle that our founders played as to whether or not we should even have a Bill of Rights. The Constitution didn't come with a Bill of Rights, and the framers, during the Constitutional Convention, they actually left the convention in a divisive manner. During the convention, George Mason moved for a Bill of Rights to be added to the Constitution. He wanted protections to be given to the states and to individuals. He was also surrounded by other people with like-minded. Elbridge Gerry, Edmund Randolph. They refused to sign a constitution without protections, keeping them safe from a federal government. Ratification of the Constitution almost didn't occur in Virginia, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and New York. Rhode Island flatly refused to sign it. And North Carolina agreed only to sign it with protections against the federal government. Well, what were some of these arguments? What was it? Why didn't we have this Bill of Rights in the convention? Their hearts were in the right place. But some of our founders feel that they didn't need to put anything in our Constitution protecting us from the government. They knew that our rights came from God and not the government.
Right.
They just disagreed with each other, thinking that we didn't tell the government, the federal government in the Constitution, that it can create a religion. Therefore, if we didn't tell it that it could, it simply can't. That was James Madison's thought. Madison also said, we do not need an amendment stating that Congress can establish a religion. It's obvious. It's obvious it can't, because we've told it that it can't. Alexander Hamilton also thought the Bill of Rights would be dangerous. He was familiar with the principle of law, and it's still taught today in law schools. Expressio unius est exclusio alterius. And that's translated that the expression of one thing leads to the exclusion of others. Now, what do I mean by that? Imagine a statute that's created that says you can't carry revolvers, pistols, derringers, and other deadly weapons. And you're stopped, and you're carrying a pocket knife. And you're arrested. And they tried charging him with the same statute. Well, your argument would be that, wait a minute, a pocket knife is not the same thing as what the statute provided. He was talking about guns. And that's what he meant by this exclusion of others. He was afraid that if we had a list of rights and we left one out, that maybe some judge would later decide that right doesn't exist. And think about yourselves today. If I asked you to create a list right now of all the rights that you have, and you drive home and tonight you think, I left one out. That was his fear. Unfortunately, we've lost track of the history of our Bill of Rights and our Constitution. And there are books out there that we can turn to read. Well, let me submit to you that not everything that you read is accurate. Let me also tell you, and you probably can't see this right now, but how many of you are familiar with Wilder Publications? A few of you out there are familiar. Well, let me tell you about Wilder Publications. They reprinted a book that has our Constitution, a Declaration of Independence, and the Articles of Confederation. And they thought it was necessary to read a disclaimer, to have a disclaimer on that book. Well, let me read you this disclaimer. This book is a product of its time and does not reflect the same values as it were if it were written today. Parents might wish to discuss with their children how views on race, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, and interpersonal relations have changed since this book was written, before allowing them to read this classic work. Wow. You know what I have to say about that? That's what we need. It's high time that we take stuff like that. We need to have warning labels on us that say, look out. If you stand for that, you're gone. We're firing you. We need to put people in office who believe in the real Constitution. But you know what? It goes along with, unfortunately, today's society. I'm thinking about right now, in Massachusetts, that school system's too concerned with giving elementary school students prophylactics instead of teaching them about the founders and our Bill of Rights and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. That's a sad state of affairs. And just like Scott said earlier, we can't fault all the schools. We have to take responsibility. And that's what I'm asking you today. Take responsibility with me. Our founders pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honors to give us this Declaration of Independence. And those of you who were at the Campaign for Liberty meeting the other night, you probably heard me talk about Caesar Rodney, and I only feel it's right to talk about him today. You see, Caesar Rodney may be one of those founding fathers that people haven't heard of. They haven't studied before. And ironically, Scott mentioned earlier, a few minutes ago, about Rome and the fall of that republic. Ironically, it was a Caesar that took the republic from the Senate, that took the republic. And here, with our founding, again, the irony, it was a Caesar who helped establish our republic. Let me tell you about Caesar Rodney. July 1st, 1776. John Adams said that Congress was in the greatest debate of all. That was for our Declaration of Independence. There were 9 out of 13 colonies at that time that voted for independence. Pennsylvania and South Carolina voted no. New York abstained, and Delaware was split 1-1. But that split, there was somebody else. Caesar Rodney was from Delaware. And so a writer was dispatched to tell Caesar, hey, we need you. This is what the state, it's tied. You could be the tiebreaker. Now, Caesar Rodney wasn't a man in good health. He suffered from asthma, and he also suffered from cancer. In fact, this cancer was a facial cancer that took part of his face. And he was told, he understood that there might have been a physician in London that could help him, that could treat him. He understood that there could have been a physician in London that could treat his cancer. After hearing midnight, early in the morning of July 2nd, the 1-1 tie, he immediately rose and rode to Philadelphia, 89 miles. Now picture riding on a July night and morning, 89 miles on horseback. That's like riding a couple 100 miles today in your car. Why did he do it? He did it because he was a patriot. When he got there, at 1 p.m. on July 2nd, he cast his vote. He came and brought his vote and was the tiebreaker. He voted for independence. And as history tells, the South Carolina and Pennsylvania turned their vote. New York abstained, and we had independence. Here was a man who put his health, his well-being, and his comfort aside so that he could carry the message and vote. He truly pledged his life, fortune, and his sacred honor so that we could stand here today as free Americans. today, I pledge to you, if you commit with me today, let's take this back. We want to take back and pledge our lives, fortunes, and sacred honors. We can either have the government take it from us, or we can hold them loosely and give them back. To do what we need to keep and safeguard our country. Thank you.
That's what we're here to do. Man, all right. All right, I ain't got to worry about nothing rolling away. We keep rolling.